It's me, Shannondale Stott Davis, representing Hillman College. If you know about Hillman, then you're in, and if you don't know about Hillman, figure it out. This is the thing that I like. I like this. So, what do you like? Put it in the chat. Hi, this is what we're doing here. This is Improv On and Off the Topic. I run Improv On and Off the Show. Actually, I do run that, but the whole company is called Improv On and Off the Stage, where we help you connect to yourself and others through improv. And we're doing that not just by talking about improv or by doing improv, but really grounding down into the science of improv and how it can help you on and off the stage. It's a really great time. It really is. And I could talk about improv all the live long day. I really love it. But I have a licensed, board certified behavioral analyst, Emily Arnold, who's going to help me do that so that you get a well-rounded view of how to do it. Before I get Emily on here, I'm going to say this. The topic of the year is community. And the topic of the month, this month, which is April, is collaboration. And to collaborate with me is Emily Arnold.
Hey, what's up? Collaboration time.
Collaboration makes it happen. Collaboration, working together. I think it's cooperation. Look it up on, what do you call it? Sesame Street. It's a Sesame Street song.
I believe you.
Emily, hi.
Hi. Welcome to Collaboration Month, where we're going to work together to make all sorts of fun things happen.
Yes. And it's amazing because, so we chose collaboration, and it is amazing because we just got off of a huge collaborating effort.
Yes. So we just wrapped last week. We did the All Together Now live show in Austin, which was a collaborative effort, not just between the humans that you see normally with your faces. You see us every week, and then you also see with your faces every month. You also see Aaron and Luke, but we have a ridiculous team, Shannon, an amazing team. That is behind the cameras usually for all of these things. And then you also, for All Together Now, you incorporated 2 more improvisers to do amazing things. And our team, so the reason we chose this theme was because I was so struck immediately upon walking in to that space and working with everyone at how well that team works together. How there are no egos involved. Everyone respects each other and everyone's good at what they do and everyone recognizes how good everyone is.
Right.
It's just awesome.
It was really, really nice. It is really, really nice. And one of the other reasons we wanted to talk about this was because we're able to collaborate so well, because we work well together without the ego. Everyone sort of understands what they are good at, why they were brought onto the team, and they do that particular thing well. We were able to also, because we were able to do that, we were able to showcase that vibe comes through to the audience. And then really what we're doing in those shows is we are collaborating as a team with the audience, asking them to be vulnerable, asking them to share their backgrounds, their stories, their histories, asking them eventually sometimes to participate with us on stage. But that all takes so much trust. You're right. It takes so much trust to lay down that type of groundwork so that I'm trusting you, you're trusting me, and together we can build this thing that doesn't quite yet exist.
Yeah, exactly. It's especially a unique thing if you're in the chat, and it doesn't matter if you're watching this live or you're watching this later. If you're in the chat and you were present at our show last week, whether you were there in the audience in Austin or if you were in the virtual audience, go ahead and drop a comment, say hi, because
Yeah.
we loved having you. We loved working with you because you're right. We did create something very unique and special with those audiences. And we literally had more than your standard improv show, right? Where we always depend on the gets and like everything is unique because we're all making it up. But our audience members directly impacted by literally being on stage with us and sometimes without us.
Right.
And
Right.
drove the show. So it was very cool. And yes, does require a lot of trust and just the right kind of environment in order for that to happen.
Yes. Say that part again. The what kind of environment?
There's just the right kind of
Right
environment, right?
kind.
And so we very explicitly, if we're talking about like the audience collaboration in particular, we were very thoughtful about how we set up that kind of environment to make it a trusting space. We've had a lot of conversations from my behavior brain about how we shape up behavior to make that happen. But by doing that, we became this environment that praised our audience for giving even just small details and for allowing them the opportunity and the reinforcement for doing things that were simple all the way up to the complex.
Oh, you started us in. So there are tons of ways we can go about talking about collaboration. We can talk about collaboration with others. We can talk about collaboration within ourselves and things like that. And we have a whole month to talk about that.
So much. And this month we're also, can I say what we're hoping to do this month?
Oh my gosh, let it out. You're
We're
doing
hoping this
it.
month
Spoilers.
to do some meet our teammates moments. So
Yes.
you can see our humans that are normally behind the cameras that you wouldn't normally get to see and see some of their genius. But yes, right now, yes, there are so many things that we could talk about. Where would you like to go today?
Today, well, you hit on it, and the environment, an environment, building environment that allows for collaboration on and off the stage, right? How is it? Let's start obviously with on the stage. Well, it's not so obvious. Sometimes we start off, but let's start with on the stage and what that looks like in our troops, what it looks like physically on stage. When I think about collaborating and building an environment, let's talk like just troop wise. Some of those things have to do with setting up trust exercises, setting up the way we introduce ourselves when new people are around, the way we what we expect of each other and what we don't expect of each other. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the most explicit things that we teach, right? As improvisers, we teach to our 101s and our classes is that we are building something together when we are on stage. So the on stage portion of collaboration, I think, is what a lot of improvisers talk about best or say best or do best, right? Those are these listening skills that we use on stage, the yes anding that we use on stage, the sharing focus on stage to build a well-rounded world. Those are all those kind of explicit skills that we teach right off the bat.
Yeah, there you said the building focus or sharing focus, and I think that is so important, right? When the troop dynamic and sharing focus creeps onto the character dynamic and sharing focus, right? How is it that we can make room for things like notes, for things like when we share with our troop members the things that we don't want to happen to us, like my body is hurting, please don't touch me here, or I had a hard day, I would rather not broach the topic of fill in the blank, anything like that. And then making space for that off stage, before a show or after a show, or just in the community of your troop. And then doing the same thing on stage when you allow for people to come in, when you set a scene and you allow people to come in and add their own pieces to the puzzle, right? Those feelings of those feelings of making room, making space, help us to know that it's okay to add to someone's idea, to respect someone's idea, and therefore to collaborate with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also, I've heard someone who I was talking to was saying that one of their strategies is also to treat everyone else as the most brilliant person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another great way that we explicitly engage in collaboration within our troop, thinking that like everyone that we're talking to, everyone we talk to is a brilliant improviser, and that's how we're working with them. Right.
Yeah.
And everyone we're on stage, every idea that you have is brilliant, and we're going to go with it.
Right.
Yeah, I think sometimes it gets a little difficult for us to take those explicit things that we're going on stage, and sometimes we try, right? Like you're saying, we've started. I know a lot of theaters are doing those check-ins
Mm-hmm.
right now, the mental and physical check-ins, right? Setting those boundaries so that we can have those trusts. I do think it's funny sometimes when we these things that we teach in different environments, troop environments off stage, aren't always the same, right? The reason that I was so struck with how the on and off team works together is because that's not the way it is everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We treat, I've been in places, and I'm sure you've been in places where, yeah, we treat each other like the most brilliant person in the room when we're in the green room warming up, and then when we're on stage. But then outside of that,
No. Right. Right.
Which, because that's environmental. To be totally honest, I know that affects my behavior, right?
Right.
I'm more likely to engage in avoidant behaviors in a place that's not as collaborative focused.
Right. It's so
Yeah.
interesting, Emily, that you're talking about culture when it comes down to it, right? You're talking about culture. You could say company culture, or improv culture, like troop culture, or the culture of a state, the culture of a town, the culture of whatever it is. And when we are engaging in one way all the time, ooh, we're getting somewhere. So when we are engaging in one way all the time, and we find that we are engaging in avoidant behaviors in ourselves in this particular culture,
Yeah.
sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes we think we are the ones that are odd. We should change our behavior to fit in with this culture. But sometimes that's not correct, right? The culture actually needs to change.
Yeah, sometimes I think there's a mix, right? I think there can be a mix of that, right? I think because on one hand, yes, you as one person cannot change an entire culture, right? You need a lot of humans on board to help you with that. Two, you shouldn't have to compromise your own values just to fit in to the people around you. But also three, this is the but three, that I think recognizing that you're engaging in avoidant behaviors, you can then kind of check to be like, and is it worth it for me to try to like make some changes in my own behavior? in order to
Mm.
make things a little bit smoother here. And I think those are things. Yes.
Can you describe 2 to 3 avoidant behaviors so we are on the same page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I say avoidant behaviors, this is kind of harkening back to stuff we were talking about last month with response, right? Where when we have kind of crap feelings, what we do about them purely just to like avoid them, like turn them off, go away, whatever. So some of my avoidance strategies include not checking my email, just
Mhm.
just not doing it. And avoiding kind of work altogether for a little while, which can be productive in the long run if it's like if it's a short break. But when it verges on a week of me being like, I really do not want to respond to that, then it becomes kind of a problem. I think other kinds of avoidant behaviors can be things like uh, just dipping out of practice, right? Like
Mm.
not even bothering to try to talk to people, just leaving. Uh, like showing up, doing your work, and then saying goodbye.
Right.
Um,
Right.
or even just kind of pushing through isn't quite the right word, but I'm trying to think about like something else that I do um, when I feel uncomfortable in a non-collaborative situation. I sometimes just like place blame on other people and be
Mhm.
like, oh, that person's just a jerk, or that person is blah, 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 blah. And that kind of alleviates the crap feeling because it just puts it on someone else,
And someone
which
else.
isn't always great.
Right. It's interesting. It isn't always great because we are now not taking ownership, right? When we're doing certain things that help us feel better. Maybe it's probably that guy's fault, right?
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
It's probably
Fine. I'm fine. He's a jerk.
he's a jerk.
Mhm.
And that doesn't help us navigate what we're actually feeling, what we are contributing and what we may not be contributing, what we could be doing to help the situation. And that's not so great, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder, okay, to like get us back into this like environment specifically,
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm wondering for you and your clients, and because when you're training the trainer, there's got to be not scenario, but an environment that you try to set up for your clients
Yeah.
so that they do feel more willing and safe to collaborate within their own lives. Because when you're talking about clients and collaborating, really why they're collaborating is to create good life living for themselves, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But in order
Uh-huh.
to do that, their environment has to allow for that. So what
Yeah.
are some of the things that you're doing and talking about to do that?
Yeah, so most of the population that and yes, I do a train the trainer sort of thing, right? Like I work with direct caregivers or teachers or staff who work with individuals who may not necessarily have the strongest communication repertoire to communicate their wants and needs if the person they're working with is not listening very well or paying attention very well, right?
Mm.
And so a lot of what I do are honestly very basic improv yes and stuff. The explicit stuff that we teach on stage. A lot of that is what I kind of take off stage. With my population in particular, I work on helping the staff and the caregivers identify how it is that the clients do communicate. How do they express themselves so that we can notice what they want, what they're into, what they need, what they do not want, and what they want to get away from, and be able to react to that in a way that honors those clients' wants and needs. And in that way, they're being collaborative, right? Where sometimes a client needs to ask, whether it's because they're a preschooler, they're literally a preschooler at school.
Mhm.
So they need to be able to be like, how do I navigate school? How do I navigate being here in this building? Up through, adults in their home who might need a support with getting their meal together, or who want to go out somewhere but they can't drive, right?
Mhm.
So all of these things, the reason that I'm there working with caregivers is because they need to support my clients in some way. And so the collaboration is in making helping this client get their needs met in a way that, yes, their needs are met and they're happy, but also keeps them safe. Because if you let like a preschooler just do whatever they want, any preschooler is
Any
just going to be like, uh, cotton candy and like chocolate all day, right? And so we kind of have to walk that line, and in that way, that relationship becomes a little bit of a collaboration where
Yeah.
we're setting kind of like safe boundaries with also uh, what the client wants to do.
Yes. So I'm seeing a direct correlation in, obviously, right? I'm seeing a direct correlation in how, as improvisers, we can take on that trainer or that teacher staff role, idea for other improvisers in creating an environment, right? So if I know that Emily is great at building scene painting, or if I know that you're great at rhyming, if I know you're great at rhyming or singing, I'm going to set you up for success on stage. I'm going to say
Mhm.
things like, oh, sounds like a song. I'm going to play games like that for you. I am going to get on stage, and in the middle of a scene, I'm going to ask you, like, oh, gosh, Darnell, I would love to hear you, do your best poetry for me, whatever it is, because I'm setting you up for success.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing, I'm setting up the environment so that you can succeed. And that collaboration then becomes the success of the scene, right?
Yeah,
I,
because you're
mhm,
not walking in there ordering other improvisers around, right? Like you're not coming in as an improv director is different than a scripted director. But like, think about like when you were a high schooler and you got your first directing like chance, and you were like, okay, now we are blocking this scene, and you say that over there, and this is how you say it, and you go boop 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 boop, and that's not what we do. And that's not
mm,
how life is, and that's not how relationships are, right? We don't like puppet master direct other people. So yeah,
mhm.
exactly what we do is we guide, whether it's explicitly like you were just saying, like, gosh, a song would be great,
Mhm,
or maybe a little bit sneakier, try to like drop some nuggets or like put some things in for other
mhm.
people so that they can shine.
Yeah, this environment talk is a lot for me, because when you were talking about avoidant behavior, sometimes like the physical environment that we are in blocks our team from wanting to participate
Yeah.
at all,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
I wonder, for instance, in scene painting, I'm wondering, to you, the fans, the you of the world. I'm wondering if there are certain environments that you don't feel comfortable in, especially when it comes to, man, when you're in those meetings and you're in a boardroom. Like, is it possible that just the environment is making it so that you don't want to participate, or so that you are engaging in avoidant behavior?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can think of a bunch of examples where if I'm in this environment, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
for one
Mm-hmm.
reason or another, right? Whether it is like a boardroom full of like all the white male CEOs that like don't have a really great history of listening to younger women. Um,
Mm-hmm.
of course, I'm not going to like speak up and try to collaborate, right? Because that environment is not terribly friendly to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there could be
And
more
then,
subtle things, right? Like
yeah.
I'm thinking about family dynamics. I have I haven't been feeling great today. And my mother-in-law was over here earlier, and my spouse was like, why don't you come hang out? And I was like, no. I love my mother-in-law. I do. I
Yes.
have, I don't like to show my weakness and that if I'm not feeling great, I don't want to, I don't really like being honest about not being at my top self around, uh, around some of my family members. So I'm like, no, I'll just hide. I'll just hide in my room.
Yeah. There in that same vein, when we create environments on stage and then we invite people in, that can also be, I don't want to use that word. I want to use isolating. It can put people on the spot, just like your partner was like, hey, come into this environment. And you're like, no, 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 no,
No,
no.
thank you. I
No,
haven't
no,
showered
no,
today. No, I'm
no.
okay. I'm not even wearing pants. Like, it's all right. No, thank you.
Right. No, thank you. One of the things that I really like to impart on people as young improvisers or improvisers in general is when we enter stage, one of the things we start to feel is anxiety sometimes because nobody's there. And so uh, our immediate go-to is to call for someone else, right? You get on stage and immediately you're like, Janet, come and mop this floor. And then what's happening is that person doesn't want to collaborate with you. They may do what you are saying, but it may be harder for you to collaborate and to build a scene with them because now they're being forced into this environment that they don't want to be forced into. So one of the reasons, or one of the ways we not avoid that, but I try to train people to be confident in being by themselves on stage and taking advantage of building that environment. Because once you start saying things like, wow, this floor is dirty, instead of Janet, come mop this floor, right? Wow, this floor is dirty. I'll start scrubbing it, or I'll start sweeping, or man, it's dirty everywhere. I'll wash these dishes. You can give yourself a chance to interact with the environment, and then you give everyone else on your team their own agency in how to collaborate with you.
Yes, I think agency is a great word, and that's incredibly important when we think about real collaboration, right? And I want to bring us back to the beginning of what we were talking about when we were talking about audience collaboration, right? Thinking about how we collaborate with our audience in a similar way, right? This is why we don't tend to, at the start of a show, say, you audience members sitting right there in second row with the hat, tell me, blah, 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 like, tell me everything. We tend to do, when we're getting suggestions or when we're going to our audience, we tend to do group responding, right? Whether it is, hey, everyone raise your hand if, or tell me a place in time, or whatever.
Your favorite color, all of those things.
And especially to begin with, that's what we tell people so that they can respond. They can respond or not by saying whatever they want. They have agency in a couple different ways. And I think we need to remember that even as we, even as they get more comfortable within a show, that sometimes people still might, if we call on like, hey, you in the third row with the stripes, that person might not by that point be comfortable enough to do what we want them to do because we're taking away their agency, right? So we still want to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, that's like, as always, we always get right here, right at 29:58 seconds.
Sorry.
and want to talk so much more. But that's a great place to wrap. And that is that we as improvisers get to practice awareness of not only the environment that we are improvising and setting up, but we get to practice awareness of the entire room, the audience, our collaborators, our friends, our team members. And because we get to practice those things, we can take those things off stage and realize, okay, in any setting, if we're looking to collaborate, what are the things that are in the physical environment that I can either change or play with to invite collaboration? And what are the things inside my mind? What am I doing? What are my avoidant behaviors? What are my like triggers is a difficult word to use right now, but what are my avoidant behaviors? How am I feeling? How might others be feeling? And how can I alleviate some stress or concerns so that we all feel comfortable in the space that we're in, so we can make this thing. Sometimes it's a scene, sometimes it's a boat, sometimes it's a new idea, but we can come to a space where we're making those things work, actually feel safe building that thing together.
Yeah. Yes. Perfect. Beautiful. It's 32 minutes. So
okay. We got to do it. We got to do it. All right, friends. Thank you so much for being here. I was going to say my name's Emily.
And I'm Jen.
And we are collaborating. We hope we can collaborate with you on and
off the stage. Goodbye.
Bye.